This is part two of a video. I wanted to talk about some fundamentals of grinding that Jesse Bolding taught me at my course at JC Campbell. I was making this friction folder called Higonokami, and you can see here we started out with some Damascus, and it's a simple friction folder with a steel handle sort of folded over. It's a very common knife in Japan. Higonokami is some name of a villain or something over there, but the knife is very simplistic. The thing that I learned from Jesse was this sort of grinding technique that we're going to talk about. These are a couple of blades that I start out with. The top one, Jesse finished up. This is the one in the video. It's really nice grind. The bottom one is when I started. These are kind of the reject blades. I didn't finish them. This is a picture of the Higonokami folded up. We put some melted brass and copper on there, and there's a lot of forged scale. It's kind of an attractive knife in a certain respects. The thing is that this tail, you got to get this tail right, because you have to have the right amount of elevation and length and all that. This is a picture. Robert Burns was the principal instructor, and he showed us to make the tail with this step. Now, you start off at picture one, you put the steel across the corner of the anvil and you form a tail in the standard fashion. That's pretty easy. Then he said, knock the thing upward, as the arrow shows in picture two, and then you go to three and you bend it over the anvil corner again, and you come up with the tail. I sort of missed this point, and I was making the tail going from one right to four, and I couldn't get the right amount of lift or attitude to it. So I just want to point out that if you're forging this thing, that's one little trick to think about. And then we went on to grinding the blade, and I think it's very important to concentrate on fundamentals. And fundamentals are important in sports and crafts and a lot of things. You can know a whole lot of very fine points and esoteric things like I do, and miss up on some of the fundamentals and basics like that pertains to me. So I've got to get back and pick up on some of the fundamentals so I could advance and turn out a decent product. So we're going to talk about some of these things, and I'll introduce you to Jesse Bolding. I apologize that the video isn't so hot. I took a camera there that was a nice camera, but the battery died, and I took some nice audio equipment, and its battery died. And if you know JC Campbell, you're sort of stuck out in the middle of nowhere. So I had to rely on this little tiny camera, and this is the result. So let's go on and talk to Jesse and learn some of this fundamental of grinding technique. Here we are at JC Campbell Folk School, and had a great week make a folding knife with Jesse Bolding. And first off, Jesse, how did you get started in knife making?
So technically, I just took a class. I took a class at the Green Energy Park in Dillsboro, North Carolina, and then it happened during COVID. Before that, I was a restaurant manager. Anyway, took that class, and I really enjoyed it. And then whenever I got done with it, I talked to the guy who taught me. His name's Brock, and I was like, please teach me more. He was just, after a while, he said yes, and then hired me on, and it took me about 6 months to get being able to where I could get paid, and then I've just been with him ever since. And then I do my own stuff, of course. I do commissions and sharpening and all kinds of other jazz, teaching, going to art shows. just as much as I can with blacksmithing.
And you're full time now, huh?
I have been full time for the past 4 years.
That's terrific. I was really impressed with some of your grinding skills. I know it's kind of hard to give a little verbal thing, but you tell us some things that go through your mind, or how you learn, or whatever.
Things that go through my mind is when, like, if the machine is on and I want to grind a bevel, I, of course, there's a light above me on the 2x72 belt grinder. So when it's on, you put the knife onto the platen, and then there is a shadow in between the knife's edge and the platen. The more shadow that there is, the more that you are working below the initial, like, bevel, the sharp quote-unquote bevel, or the less shadow is when you're working the edge. So you can move in certain slight degrees to go and change that. So you can get, I focus on the shadow, and then the less shadow there is, the more you're working the edge, and the more shadow there is, the more you're working under it. So that's something I try to keep in mind. The spark load, so like what the belt is cutting, like if it isn't cutting in the middle, there won't be any sparks happening in the middle, so I have to focus on that. I may need to change a belt or just move around the platen. I try to count in my head so I can keep the same sides, but I often lose track of that. Otherwise, I've just tried to get as much time as I can on one of these guys and just try to get better and have as many opportunities as I can try. And I'm very grateful for the position I'm in.
Okay, well, I learned a lot. You're a great teacher, and I have to say, as far as how you excel on the people I met, you are the most energetic knife maker I've ever met. It's been a pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm going to play about 4 minutes of watching Jesse grind. It's obvious that he's very meticulous and grinds very slowly. Apart from being one of the most enthusiastic knife makers I've ever met in my life, I think he's one of the guys who grinds the slowest. And I will tell you that I grind about 4 times faster than he does, which sounds like bragging, but the ultimate result is his grinds come out 4 times nicer looking than mine. So I think it's important to be meticulous, and if that's one thing I learned from him, it was that. I'm going to grind a lot slower. And you could look at how he watches what he's doing. I'm sure his sense of touch and feeling and how he angles the blade against the platen is all kind of coordinated. Even though he seems like he's very lightly touching the blade against the sanding belt and taking a long time, there's always a huge plume of sparks below that blade, so I know he's removing material. The thing is, he uses a very coarse blade. I think that he had a 60 grit there, and as you know, a coarse blade is going to produce less heat for the amount of material that you grind off. Even so, my fingers, I'm sure, would have gotten hot, and I would have dunked that blade a lot more than he does. So I kind of say, don't you have any feeling in your fingers? And he said, yeah. But you notice that also he will stop touching the tip of the blade when it obviously gets too hard, but he'll keep grinding, holding on to the tang, which remains a little cooler. So I think that that's rather interesting. He tells me that he normally grinds standing up, but because these grinders were on a table, that he was sitting down during the grind. I tell you, you're a little bit more comfortable doing that. It's possibly a whole different technique, but for a very short blade where you're not, moving side to side like on a 8-inch blade or something, this might be a sufficient way to do things. Jesse was a great teacher. He's very helpful and a generous sort in that he offered to do blade grinding for a couple of the participants in the class, and I saw him doing such a great job. I mean, why would I let him grind my blade when I'm there to learn and I'm already a guy making knives for years? But then again, I'm no idiot. I wanted to bring home a really nice knife. So yes, I let Jesse grind my blade while I watched him and tried to learn something. But the bottom line was he did a really superb job on my final blade. And I'm glad to own that knife. If you want to come in contact with Jesse, he's on Facebook. He's got a knife shop and he's making all sorts of knives. I think one of his specialties, though, is those big chef knives. They're Damascus and really look great. I think Jesse started to work on this one too, but it was getting late. We had to bug out and leave on the final afternoon. But here's the one that he finished. It came out really nice. And you should look up Jesse on Facebook. Maybe get him to teach one of your classes. I think you really enjoy it. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.